Hello everyone, and happy Midsummers to everybody out there. I don't know if everybody celebrates Midsummer like people here in Finland do. It's kind of a big thing over here. But as you can see, I definitely am very a lame person in the fact that I don't really celebrate really anything by working on this holiday. So I don't know. I would rather spend my time here and talk with you guys and do some art, because what could be more fun than that? Okay, just like really quick adjustments for this chat. So I can see mostly everything. And now I have you guys on a new screen, so I think I'm closer to the camera. I'm gonna take away all of this stuff and get to some actual painting. Okay, my screen is gonna be sliding all over the place, but that has to be fine. Hello Hannah, Jana, Linux Gamer, and Manis Anand, who is saying, I recently came across your channel and have become a huge fan of your work. Thank you. Your composition and choice of color is just out of this world. Watching your video is very therapeutic. Thank you. I wish that it was always as relaxing to make them as it is to watch them, but that's something that I will be working on. I need to enjoy my work more. I think that's important. So, also happy Pride Month, everybody. I don't know about you, but recently when I've been on Twitter, I get this feeling about the general vibe of Twitter. I don't really spend time there. I usually check to see if anybody has responded by commenting on any of my work. 100% of the time the answer is no, because nobody follows me on Twitter. I really don't want to spend too much time in there. It's just in no way helpful for my business at this point. It's not a good use of my time. And also just a general crazy vibe over there. It's just so hateful. So I just felt like today I want to do something, how do I say this in a polite manner, aggressively homosexual stuff. So let's start with a pride flag and get to painting. I'm gonna be using my Cozy Landscapes set, and this should be available to all of the members still. If that folder has closed, I can open it because I haven't been making any new brushes. I just have been testing this one mostly. Oh, actually, I should be painting on the flag with this thing, because if I use this opaque on wet brush on the same layer that already has colors on it, it does this amazing color mixing thing. That is the best thing about this entire brush. So that's what I want to do. How is everybody doing this evening or day? I don't know what time it is there, but it's 7 here. Also, really quick disclaimer, because I know that somebody's gonna be absolutely scandalized by it later when they see it, but I won't be drinking coffee in this live stream. I know that's shocking. And the cans that I have here, they are alcohol-free beer, which is kind of a new thing that I'm been getting into. I got this zero alcohol calendar a few years ago as a Christmas calendar, and it was a pleasant experience. And I'm not a big bar person anyway, but I like the taste of beer. So I think this has been interesting way to like have like just one beer and not be drunk, because these don't have any alcohol in them, but it's a very like a traditional Finnish thing to get like completely sloshed during midsummer. So this is kind of my version of it. Maybe lame version, but who cares? I make my own damn rules. I'm gonna... Hello, Janina, MML, and Henry, and Louis, and Phoenix sent some message that was like deleted before I got to see it, sorry. Midsummer is a big-ish thing in Norway too, but I'm never really celebrating that kind of holidays either. Yeah, I think the most worried I was about Midsummers is that like one of the traditions in traditional Finnish Midsummer is the burning of a bonfire near a lake, because this is a land of 1,000 lakes, so it's a very typical Finnish thing to burn a bonfire next to a lake while you go to sauna and drink lots of beer. Because it has been so dry this week, I've been kind of worried that I hope that somebody doesn't burn down the entire country, but what can you do? I hope people act in a responsible way. So now I'm scaling down the canvas, but this is mostly for sketching purposes, so that I can sketch quickly and block in fast to get into the meat of the painting, to find what I'm doing and so on. I'm just letting the flag kind of like bake in some of that color variety in the same zones. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with these zones yet, but I'm sure they will develop into something. Usually, I find something. Or my creativity, like, presents some, like, interesting idea to me that I will notice if I'm not too panicked. And I don't know. I've been enjoying these live streams lately a lot more for some reason. I don't know if it's experience or just the fact that it's so nice to be able to paint my own paintings and not be just like burned with like endless amount of commissions that I've been doing in the beginning of this year. I mean, just from Christmas until summer, it was just like one tornado of commission work. And I have had some requests on IG, but I haven't even like had time to respond to all of them because I'm afraid that I will say yes to something. Phoenix is asking what time is it there. Here it's 10 past 7 p.m. So I have my window closed so you can't see it, but during this time of the year, during summer, it's just as bright during the night as during the day. So if I went out at 1 a.m., you would think that it's the daytime. You can't see the sun, or it's like really close to the horizon in Lapland, but here you can see the sun, but it's still just as bright as during the day. Okay, I think that's an interesting selection of swatches. Blue tends to look super saturated even at low value ranges, so I have to be careful of that. I'm just gonna mix these two together because I have this kind of like a yellowish, strange, not realistic thing that I am kind of thinking of. First time watching live, Diana is saying. Welcome, Diana. Henry has to be at work. My boyfriend has to be at work during midsummer as well, which is not fun for him or me. But I guess, like, this is the most fun thing that I can do by myself. So it's not that bad. Just had an idea, like, what if the light is kind of not done in a realistic way, but it's somehow like coming from below and affecting everything that it touches. It's like the haziest idea that I have thus far, but when you don't have like a better idea, grab the one that you have. Honestly, I think we waste so many like good ideas when we are looking for better ones, and it's almost always just about the execution. Hannah is saying that they have the same thing in Norway as well, that bonfires are forbidden. It's kind of scary to think that there are these massive forest fires in Canada, and Finland is basically just forest. And we have these few little towns here, but the rest of Finland, it's just forest, like all of it. So I think that's a bit scary. So if it burns down, like all of it burns down, the entire Finland. Missed. Jana is saying, normally I don't see you starting with intense colors. Yes, I don't recommend starting with a rainbow flag, obviously. This is something that I will probably be using with a layer mask later. So I'm gonna add a mask to it already and do that. And then just like try to find something interesting with these layers in between. I just need things to be like kind of like toned down so that I can kind of focus on the main blocking in shapes. So I'm gonna add like a grayish shade. Add a low opacity here. And then work out this shape. Sometimes even with organic shapes, you can kind of like fake perspective with the free transform tool. And that can be very helpful, especially in the blockout phase, because you don't need to kind of manually scrub over every area of the painting. So that can help establish those lines a lot quicker. Manish Anad is asking, do you have a video for the beautiful bee on the violet flower painting? I always notice it in your videos and I'm very fascinated by it. I think... Okay. No. No, I don't. Because I was kind of like working on that video when I was still working full-time as a concept artist. So I wasn't even thinking of making a YouTube channel, to be honest. At that point, it was just like the idea of doing something like this would have been terrifying, and I kind of posted my art secretly as well because I didn't want people from the company to see my work, as sad as that sounds. Yeah. So sorry, I don't have a video for the bee. But it was painted in Photoshop. It was before I started using Procreate, mostly. I still use Photoshop, obviously, a lot. All of the commissions that I have done this year are in Procreate, though. Sometimes people assume that I use Photoshop for like paying client work because Photoshop is more expensive to have. I'm just gonna get this slightly out of my face. I think it's a little bit in the way. He said and failed. No, I use Procreate whenever I like need to get some like real painting done. But whenever I'm doing thumbnails, like any graphic design elements for my videos, like for example my last video that has all of those perspective tips, like it has over 100 visual assets, most of which are graphic elements that are done in Photoshop. So the editing process of that video was just like me jumping back and forth between those two constantly. Spooky is asking, what are you drawing? Something tube-like. Wow. Crosscrot, that is so flattering. I hope that your 6-year-old doesn't get too disappointed when I find what the painting is about. There's gonna be like some like effect of rainbow later on. That is kind of like one idea that I already have for everybody anxious to know what it is. Trust me, like I'm just as like anxious to know what this thing is as you are. I mean, it would be great if I knew what I was doing. It would be much easier to like run an art channel if I had any idea what I'm doing with my life. But this is life. I think this year, or in like this month, I've had these like thoughts that it feels kind of horrifying to be a arttuber and to have my own business. Being just like completely responsible for absolutely everything in my life, it feels a bit too adult sometimes. You know how you sometimes panic and you feel like you just wanna kind of let go of the wheel and see if somebody kind of comes and rescues you. And when you're a freelancer, then like you're the only one there. There's nobody else. There's no manager that is going to like rescue me if I screw up something, schedule things wrong, or just whatever kind of like horrifying things that I can mess up. Those sort of thoughts are sometimes a bit overwhelming. I'm just saying this because I know that a lot of people who watch art channels on YouTube, at least that was like me before, that they can give this sort of like illusion that freelancing is very stress-free. But in my experience, there's just a lot of different type of stress that comes along with freelance business. But having said that, I think it's also about what kind of a person you are, because I would much rather put up with this sort of like work-life stress than just the kind of work stress that I had before. Because at least now I have control over the things that I'm doing. I have creative control over the kind of art that I'm doing. And I get to make the kind of art that makes me happy. And I really mean that it makes me happy. I think it's interesting to explore all of these worlds that I get to create now. And if that is sometimes difficult to arrange, then it's still worth the effort, 100%. Space Pop Tart is saying, I still don't understand color blocking. Well, color blocking, it's not necessary for you to start that way. If it's more natural to you to start with line art, that's completely valid, and it's just as a good way to start your art process as anything else. But I do think color blocking is important for getting the overall mood done right, so that you don't start working on rendering too early, that you have kind of a mood goal in mind before you progress onto like more detailed type of painting. I mean, even if your final way of like finishing the illustration is not painting, but it's more like just smooth rendering, then even still, like having a mood goal in mind can make that much more achievable, because at least you have something to fix. Otherwise, it's just kind of very luck-based, which I don't recommend for anybody. There's enough variables in art process anyway, without you even trying to add that sort of randomness in, that you really don't want to tempt fate. I mean, maybe you do, I don't know, you personally, but if art feels often very frustrating to you, then I would hazard, I guess, that is why, because it's too random. It should be more like feel like a puzzle that you are trying to solve. I'm so trying to avoid painting a vertical line in the middle of the canvas here, but that pull of organizing chaos is so strong that I've been doing this tree several times already, and every time I catch myself, I'm like, not there, Mikko, not there. Okay. Hi Carolina, I thought you couldn't make it. Oh, she's making sure that we know that. I'm only stopping by. Okay. Jake Nameson is saying, it's super intense working for yourself. My hardest challenge with it is kind of turning off at the end of the workday and feeling like I've done everything I need to do. But no managers is also nice. Yes, it is. Kind of like adjusting my expensive chair. I ended up paying for the chair, but I cannot deduct it from taxes because I'm already deducting the workroom reduction, which is like just nonsense. But ergonomics are important. I mean, if you have back pain, you turn into a terrible person. At least I do. I mean, like, I don't have the mental fortitude to be nice after feeling that. So okay, think, Mikko? What are you doing? Alpha lock? No. Then the same fake perspective trick for this as well. Just to see what I'm doing, I'm gonna use a crazy color first. I'm gonna add some cracks to this later. That sort of stuff is kind of fun once you have an idea of where the painting is going. And I like exploring these sort of like organic imperfections. I think they are much harder to do than they look. Not that everybody couldn't learn to do that, but at least for me, I need to constantly think about finding symmetry and then destroying it, finding repeating elements and then destroying those, finding repeating shapes, sizes, repeating spaces, all of those things. That's like the checklist that is just repeating in my head over and over when I'm doing something like this. I've never heard my niece criticizing art actually. She always finds something positive to say, like she genuinely enjoys making art and watching other people draw or paint. I think that's so cool. I hope she has opportunities to make art herself as well. I think that's really important. I have a weird idea that I just wanna try right now. Maybe. I don't know. If I like find enough value range, then I can make it work. I think that's why having like an editing room and in colors and values, it's super important for a painting. And it's the only way that things like these can work. Hey Lula, sorry that I missed you because you probably already left. Seems like some of the messages I sent don't show up in the chat and it's very annoying. Anyway, how are you, Carolina and Lula? Hannah, I don't know why that could be, because like I'm not pressing, like as you can see, I'm like quite busy painting, and I don't even see that any of your messages would be like censored by the automatic censoring on YouTube. So my only guess here is that maybe, just maybe, it could be that if you have sent a message within 2 seconds, then it goes into this, then YouTube might block it. There used to be like a 3-second slow mode here, but just before this very stream, I changed that to 2 seconds. And the only reason why that is on, if somebody comes on the chat and just like spams something, like for example, somebody asks a question and they aggressively want me to answer it because I'm painting, so obviously it's very likely that I might miss it if I'm not reading the chat actively. Then sometimes people just like copy and paste the same question over and over again, and then if it fills the chat, then like I have no hope in keeping up with anybody. And hey Chandler, Crosscut is asking which Procreate feature is most underrated in your opinion. That's a great question. I think probably drawing assist guide, the on and off switch. I think that's my favorite one. When I press this middle button and then it enables and disables a drawing guide. When I'm doing, for example, architecture or some sort of illustration that has perspective in it, like I need to like switch that off and on all the time, and it's so much faster when it's tied to just one single finger press instead of going into a menu or like even opening a quick menu. It's faster than that even. I think that's really handy. And another feature that I really love that I think is like super underrated is black and white mode of the iPad screen itself. It's not a Procreate feature, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. I have tutorials for this both. In my last video, I have a full tutorial on how to set up the quick button for the perspective guide, and I also have a full tutorial on how to set up your iPad so that you can use the power button to switch between color and black and white mode. And the reason why it's so much better to do it that way in Procreate, because like when you paint and color pick in Procreate, even if your whole screen is black and white, you are still color picking colors. So for example, if you're working on the same layer and you want to fix values there, you can fix it in black and white and still be painting in color the entire time. So that's the only way that you can do that. And it's just, I don't see a lot of people talk about that feature. So I think it's underrated considering how useful it is. Hey subs. Subs likes the long press. Yeah, long press is good too. Also, it's good to have like that sort of like courage that then you feel like you wanna go back to just like undo a whole lot of things. It's fine. I think it's a very beginner mindset to think that every brushstroke should be progress. Every brushstroke can be exploration. And I think the difference between a professional artist and somebody who is just a beginner is that when a beginner makes mistakes or notices areas that don't work in a painting, they aren't kind of like daunted by the fact that like something needs to be completely repainted over and over again until it works. But a beginner might be just like, it just didn't turn out well. I already painted that part and it doesn't look good. So they basically just give up. I'm bundling all the leaves with the flowers that they are with. That just makes them easier to find later on. I forgot that I'm still using this brush. Well, it's fine. It's kind of perfect for this purpose anyway. I think there are plenty of overrated features, like just people getting like too fancy and technical with like effects and stuff. I think like all of the effects are overrated except Gaussian blur. I would be perfectly fine if like all of those were just like deleted. It would make things easier to find. I think the inherent problem with any software that is successful that over time there is kind of like a market need to produce more and more. I'm hiding behind the microphone. More and more features so that you can market those features, but it ends up kind of bloating the system. And then for new users, it can feel intimidating when you have this like spaceship dashboard with all kinds of bells and whistles. And it takes so long time, honestly, especially if somebody's learning on their own. It takes such a long time to realize just how few tools do you need. And especially for most of your work, how simple the tools that you need are. Like opacity, brush size, color palette switching. I mean, like opening this color palette and switching colors. Like those are the features that you actually need, and you will be spending most of the time with. But I think for a lot of people, they think that like all of those very advanced looking fancy filters and stuff, that there are somehow like a secret key to good looking illustrations, and when it's just like this very basic brushwork that can do most of that stuff for you. I'm just testing different types of super high saturation accents that maybe I can use later. Just trying to find something like ways to incorporate this rainbow. Then I have purple over here. But maybe I don't have to have those colors divided that sparsely. Maybe I can kind of like concentrate them all into this one area. But now that I have them there, I can use color pick to kind of like shape them in some way that makes sense. Kind of like the thick painty blobs that this brush leaves. It's kind of the type of imperfection that you really need to let go of this idea of perfect lines or shapes, and then just like go with the cool ideas that come up in the painting process. I know that that is definitely not the ideal way for most people to paint, but I think for me it feels really relaxing to know that I'm never gonna be like fully in control. I can try to contribute my ideas to the painting, but in the end it kind of has a final say in how all of this will turn out. I think that's fine. It's more than just fine, it's the way that I want it to be. Hannah, I have to kind of report back on that chat issue that like I haven't seen anything on the chat, because sometimes if it pulls like, or if it automatically takes away like some kind of a comment, then I see that. I would see it on my end of the chat that there is a comment that is removed, but I haven't seen any of those during this live stream. And I was expecting some sort of drama to happen. Let's try this. Sorry, the microphone might leave some sounds. Okay. I was expecting some level of drama because of the whole pride flag in the banner of this video, but Maybe it just goes to show how nice people are on this channel. I mean, you guys. It's cool. I know that there are some people, for example, that are in the Discord channel with the channel members that feel like YouTube is a very hostile place. And I have to say that I felt that when I started doing YouTube videos, mostly people like criticizing the quality of the videos, which like I think is like completely acceptable. But I have to say that once you have made enough content, your videos get served to the audience that is kind of suitable for your content. It doesn't get recommended to just anybody. So that automatically kind of makes your audience more aligned with what you're making. Because the algorithm learns who it should be served for. So if you start doing content on YouTube, for example, I'd just like to say that like maybe have a little bit of patience with it. I know that like people can be kind of terrible sometimes, but not always. I think it has been one of the best things about doing this freelance business. It's just like being able to find people interested in creativity in the same way that I am, and having people to talk to about it as well. I think that has definitely been a huge plus and booster for the quality of my entire life. When you're working on commercial projects, sure, you might be in a group of different creative people, but usually productions involve so much like staff that you're not mostly among other people that are doing art, for example. So you're left kind of alone with those things, especially if you're a concept artist. You have to be working on a quite big project for the project to have multiple concept artists. And even then, like, you're lucky if you get to work with people that you get along with. I mean, we artists, we aren't like exactly the most agreeable personalities as a whole, and I include myself in that group as well. I have definitely been not optimal to work with in every single project in my past. I think it's like one more reason why I'm so happy that I get to do my own stuff now. Hey Spooky. Linux is asking, I don't know whether you have answered while I was away for a bit or whether you missed it again. My message is being missed. Sorry. Can you explain the technique you do to bring out the highlights, where you mask a layer completely and erase the mask as necessary? Do I have layer masks? Yes, here I have a layer mask for the pride flag, and when I paint on the pride flag mask with white, currently that mask is black, so everything that is white shows up. Same goes for shades of gray, so if it's like a gray shade, then it's like showing only half of what is on that layer. And you can paint on it only with black and white and gray tones. You can't use colors on a layer mask, it's always going to be binary. Okay, where was I? Doing that rock. This thing. At this point, I could increase the canvas size. Chandler is saying, I absolutely love that aspect of the angry mob. The discourse and encouragement is wonderful. Yeah, I think it's great to see like how different artists there are. And when we are doing these art assignments, I think it's super great to see like how everybody else kind of tackles those different visual problem solving situations. Like for example, when we did that 3-color assignment, it was just mind-blowing how different everyone's work was during that assignment. And in these perspective studies that we are now doing, previously we did 1-point perspective, and currently we are doing 2-point perspective art assignment on the Angry Mob membership. So I think the cool thing about having everybody do those is because when we get to the feedback session, there are just so many like different visual problems that you get to solve with other people with their art, and it just helps you process like in a much more faster way, because otherwise you would have to encounter those same visual problem solving situations in your own paintings. But I've learned so much myself through the art assignments. I think it's great. And the same way that when I'm teaching art, I learn a lot from my students, like in classroom settings as well. Teaching art is always learning art. That's what one teacher said to me, and it's 100% true. And every year it feels like it's a more meaningful message that I remember. Because you can be doing the same color theory talk for the 6th year, and then the way that like some student asks a question or misunderstands some concept can completely flip the way that you teach that subject, because you understand that there are like different ways that other people see things, and even like different creative possibilities that you can do with those rules that you are teaching. I'm always inspired by the students and their kind of willingness to fail. Also, I think that's inspiring. Because sure, it's easy for me to come and talk about art because I've been doing it for so long, but it's much more scary for somebody who is like a third year animation or art student in a game school where everybody is like at a very high level and they are just trying to find their style or learn the fundamentals in some way. Art is much scarier for them. So for them to be able to show their work in the feedback sessions at all, I think that's an act of great bravery. I just now remembered that on Discord, Sydney asked that I should do some like warm colors, some like bright oranges, and it's also like the darkest, coolest painting ever. Sydney, I'm so sorry. I will do like some warm colors later, I promise. Oh, Linus, did I like completely miss your comments at some point? Let's scroll up. Oh, so Linux Gamer asked, sorry I missed this part earlier because I wasn't reading the chat. This is the first time I've got one of your streams. How do you get inspiration and pick what colors looks right for the piece? How do I find inspiration? Well, it's the small things, really. Like this week I've been on very long walks with Vivi, and I take a ton of photos of just the small plants on the ground. Because during summer, this is one of those things that you will only realize if you're a freelancer or work from home for any reason, that the change of seasons during summer, like summer has almost like many like mini seasons within summer itself. Every week, like the same meadow or side of a road can look completely different, and if you don't pay attention to it, you will miss it. So let's say that, for example, you're not on one road during 1 week of summer. You don't notice how completely nature has changed in that area in that short time frame. So I started taking photos of like all of those small things, and when I was doing that mini painting yesterday with poster colors, I had all of my reference images on the computer screens. Now they are reserved for this live stream, but I had them on the screens, and sometimes I, for example, can put the reference images in a folder where I can kind of like flip through them. So I get to glance at the screen and see like different ideas for foliage, because it's all about the shape variety, for example in this, and organizing them in a graphic way that reads well. I just cannot get this stone texture to work here for some reason. So that's one way for me to find inspiration. And when it comes to the colors, I am kind of trying to communicate the mood most of all. Mood is more important to me than readability, more important than explaining things. Mood is the entire painting. If the painting doesn't have a mood, it's not done yet. It's not failed painting, but it's just not done. A painting that is just a picture, to me, it's not art. If it doesn't give me a feeling, if it doesn't transport me into that world through the mood that it conveys, then it's not done. When I give feedback on concept art classes, I can be pretty harsh on this, like one topic. Because concept art, you're not just making a design for the project that you are working on, but you're also trying to sell that design internally to the development team. So you cannot forget to convey the mood, or at least like when somebody asks you, what's the reasoning behind this shape language or color design, you need to like be prepared to answer with something that sounds reasonable, like why you made those choices that you made. So colors cannot be random. They have to have a message. Let's skip to Richard. Thank you for the tip. What software you use to stream Procreate? Zoom. So I'm currently on my PC, like one of the PC screens, I am in a Zoom video conference that I started, and I pressed share screen, and that's how I'm here. And that shared screen is then plugged into OBS, and OBS is the streaming software that I am using to gather all of these other sources, the music, my face in this bear shape, and Northern Lights. Everything is through OBS. The free version, I don't use a paid version of any streaming stuff. I don't know if I should. Like if you know any like streaming widgets that I definitely should be using, please let me know. One thing that I tried to get to work recently was to get the chat into this like plugin website that turns all of the chat messages into audio, because I would love to be able to hear when somebody writes something in the chat and then respond to it while painting. because every time that I'm not painting, then I can read the chat, but then somebody comments that like, can't you be painting faster? And I can't be painting and reading at the same time. So, and sometimes I honestly just forget that I'm even streaming, if I'm completely honest, and that's not an entirely terrible thing. Well, thanks for coming by, Chandler. Chaps is saying, Mikko, you mentioned many times how hard it is to paint horses and that you take reference photos of them all the time. I can't recall ever seeing you paint a horse. Challenge accepted. There are horses in the recent castle design that I did. The purple one. It's not that old of a painting, and I did it during a live stream. I also did a YouTube video on it, and it was about mood. There you can see the horses. So there. And yes, of course I had reference for those horses. Those horses would look terrible without reference. Having said that, I love the horses that I draw without reference, because like they look so dumb that I love them. One of my favorite paintings that I love is a painting of horses done without reference. And with reference, that would 100% not work. It would not be funny. And it would not be as charming as it is. I'm having kind of a maybe idea for the rainbow aspect of this painting. Maybe the colors kind of like gather in this area. I just have to make sure that they make somehow sense. Whoa, that went way darker than I thought. So now I'm using the rainbow colors in kind of more radial way, and they are kind of extending out from the middle. And that way the values can make some sense as well. I was saying that the colors always need to have a meaning. So the meaning of these colors is that I think the recent few years have been really difficult for many people in the LGBT community. And these have been like really, really dark times. But to make any type of progress and to help those that are in need, you need to have hope. You can't have any kind of change or hope for any type of change to happen if you don't have hope. So that's why I want the rainbow colors to be kind of like the bright, saturated area here in this dark forest. Kind of happy with the way that this radial color idea is working. I love the way that Crosscut just kind of like encapsulated that entire talk about references. As an art teacher, of course, I have to say that, of course, always have reference, use reference, always do that. Okay. But just as a person, I just find it so hilarious how I try to go in to an art piece with that level of confidence that I will figure it out, or if there is something off with this, I will fix it later by using a reference, and then the painting turns out so funny that fixing it would be breaking it completely. it's nice that you did some art here as well, Linux. Okay, Vairi, I think those animals, just in my limited brain drawing capabilities, like those seem like very similar animals. And yeah, I can understand how they feel really difficult. Also, the problem is that like they look the same if you drew them. Yeah. I find it really helps like to get the identity of animals when you simplify especially the head bone structure into boxes and triangles, because then you can really see the difference between like what's the difference between a horse or a bear, for example. It's a very different type of stack of boxes for those creatures. And the more that you simplify, the kind of like more distinct those differences become. Maybe like even go in a very like stylized cartoony exaggeration with the simplification first, and then bring back the realism later once you understand the underlying structure. Sophia is asking, could you draw seals sometimes? Absolutely not. Let me explain in a second. I love seals. I watch the seal cam every year. I've been doing that for many years now. This year, people even on Discord were recruited to watch the seal cam with me. I'm so enthusiastic about seals. However, actually there is one seal picture in my gallery. If you scroll down to my Photoshop days, it has a pink background. It's called Navy Seal. Seals, I mean, like the shape of a seal is just like basically this. If you do a realistic seal, if you don't do what I did in that illustration, this is a seal. I have just captured all of the essence, but none of the elegance of a seal. They are just rolls of fat covered in fur. So pretty much like me during winter, but just as like drawable, in my opinion. I want to start on layers of grass in the foreground. Usually I don't recommend painting grass in like blade by blade, but more as like blobs first, and then come forward into individual details. But even here, like finding the mood first is super important. these blobs are like elements that are in the foreground. And then I'm gonna add one more where it kind of light gathers there. And these can be used for color picking later. I'm gonna keep it very desaturated, kind of mint colored, so that these details don't take over the entire illustration. In my language, we call seals sea dogs. Yeah, Vivi is definitely a land seal when she does the full body splot on the floor, and in that state, she's adorable, but also completely undrawable, because Vivi silhouette from the side when she does the full splot, she has her fox head like this, then paws splayed up like that, and then the rest of the body is just like this. This is like a side profile of Vivi doing the splot. That doesn't really work as an illustration. I always call her a wet mitten, or for mitten when she's in that state, because it looks like somebody just like dropped a wet towel or something on the floor and left it there. Sophia, if seals are your favorite animal, like I recommend the seal channel. Okay, it happens every summer. It's only for a limited time. So that happens in Finland because seals are very endangered animals here, especially like one species that is just in this region. So it's kind of a live stream to bring awareness to this one species. I'm trying to group these different shapes into different areas so that even though nature is this chaotic mess, it's easier to kind of tell apart the different groups of plants, because they are kind of blocked off in their own sections here. I think I accidentally pulled 2 layers up here at once. Doesn't quite work like that, but maybe I can use that as an overlay. I had to run out to catch the fish van and everything changed. Yes, that's the nature of these live streams. Whoop! I lost the connection with Zoom for some reason. Just a second. Okay. We're back. Sorry. I agree with Vairi that we shouldn't be waiting for things in the future to change whatever is happening to the nature and all of these species that we are killing. Like, we should be doing things right now. And it's already too late for so many species. Beautiful animals are forever gone because of us. I'm starting to feel the rainbow vibe, like slowly it's coming in there. Those yellow flowers could be like at full blast saturation, because it's one of those flowers that I really love. It has this shiny surface to the petals on the flowers, and that shininess makes the saturation like really pop out. Looks super bright. Sophia is saying robot animals would be very scary, but also, hear me out, they could also be very cute as well. I'm not saying that we should replace actual animals with robot animals, just for some functions. I think an animal casing in some robots would be much more pleasant. Like, for example, those self-check-in counters where you board on an airplane and you check your baggage. At least here in Helsinki-Vantaa airport, it's completely automated so that you don't have to talk with a human being at all. But at the same time, you're just about to board a plane, you're feeling stressed, having that information come from a robot dog would at least make it much easier for me to get my passports and everything in order so I can use the check-in machine. By the way, it's just a miracle that I've been able to get onto some flights, because these scanning things can easily just not recognize the barcode on my ID card. I don't usually fly with my passport. Somehow conveniently, this art idea again turns into this sort of like art sprinkles that I get to kind of spread around these colorful dots everywhere. And it works with some logic, but like just barely. It's mostly just because I like to do those sort of sparkly dots. That's my entire style. There's a very saturated purple tree on the right that is just like really bothering me. So I'm gonna try to use this mask to paint out some of that away. "1984 is a good book. Nothing wrong with reading that." Okay. Wow. I just noticed one composition mistake in the background right here. Can you notice how these two trees are exactly the same size? So I'm gonna fix that. First I'm gonna pull it apart from that location a little bit. Get rid of this trash. And then just like maybe add a little bit of thickness to it. I know I'm really quiet, but I really do need like all of my full attention on doing these branches. I know that for somebody who is not thinking about the composition, it seems like I'm wasting a lot of time doing something that looks very simple, but like these are like the parts in the composition that you cannot do quickly. You will mess them up. I'm confident in saying that, like, no matter who you are, you cannot learn to do these lines quickly. Because as human beings, we are conditioned to make mistakes like I just made. I made a branch here, and I already have a branch on the other side of this tree trunk at the exact same location. So there are just like so many mines that you need to be avoiding at all times. For whatever reason, I'm like constantly losing the Wi-Fi connection. Damn it. Now I have to start considering if it's time to end the stream, because there are some technical difficulties that are reoccurring. I'm glad that major game industries banned AI. Is this a thing that has happened? I'm not sure if I've been paying attention to news enough. I was kind of expecting game companies to use AI to write dynamic quest dialogue. I don't know if it's terrible to say, but I was kind of looking forward to that development. Oh, damn it. I have them on the same layer. Oh, that sucks. I've never had this many disconnects in a row ever before. I wonder if there's like something with the Wi-Fi settings. Maybe I should disable Bluetooth. I don't know if I normally have that disabled, if it even matters at all. Let's see, let's hope. Hopes and prayers. Okay. So what I'm doing now is this like, sort of like a very subtle type of shading to give this graphic illusion of light coming from one direction. And then on another layer, I have this cool light that I'm adding with the same sort of masking system that I, for some reason, made this like super complicated way of shading these leaves. But that's because I messed up and painted everything on the same layer, which is not great. On some instances, it's actually great. Like, for example, when you're doing more of a painterly thing. But since there are so many like graphic elements, less relying on hand painting in this piece, like for those graphic elements, for the cleanness of those elements, messing up by merging things on the same layer is not helpful for me to reach that end goal. Hello, your local cat, and thank you. Oh my god, I just noticed that I had the camera in front of the damn... I had the microphone in front of the camera view all of this time. What if I, like, I don't know. I really should have spent even more time in the whole setup situation. Does this work? I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sure that you're all used to insane Twitch streamers that have the technology under their control, but for me, every time I go live, it's just like everything is just like, oh, everything is on fire every time. That's pretty much live streaming for me in a nutshell. Yeah, I noticed that Photoshop already has AI, and honestly, I'm not like super excited about it. And whoever is doing their online marketing, I don't know, something about it is like currently rubbing me the wrong way, the way that they are doing all of this content. I appreciate the enthusiasm that they have for their product, but it doesn't feel like a conversation with the designers and artists that basically paid for Photoshop to exist the way that it is now. So when they first started posting those videos, there were like tons of negative comments, and they didn't respond to any of them. And this could have been like a real moment for the CEO of Photoshop to make a statement of some kind about what they are doing and what their goals are, where this technology is going, what's their intention with this. So like address the actual customers that are paying you. I think that would have done a lot of like, just like added a lot of like goodwill. But it's their choice. I don't want to get into it in this live stream because I've done it so many times in the past, but I don't think AI is in any way a threat to making concept art at all in any way. And if you still think that making concept art is making images, then it's a threat to your job, but not the actual concept art industry in any way. Because that's not the job. But the interesting thing about what Vairi was saying, that it feels like cheating, that I had taken issue with. Just like this whole statement that something feels like cheating when you're making art. But I guess it's different when it comes to AI, because you're using someone else's creative work as materials. I guess in that situation, maybe it's valid to think that. There's an interesting conversation about AI and this stealing artists' work, especially in an unconsensual way, which I do think is troublesome. I made this like short about AI, and it got a lot of people like, there was just like a lot of like strong emotions people had over it. And one thing that people seem to repeat in the comments, that AI is not art. And I don't want to like jump into like any sort of like black and white thinking, but I think that when generative algorithms were created, and this hasn't been like a new thing that happened this year, it has been in the past few years, there has been art pieces where, for example, pictures of New York were generated in this like endless sea of images, and that was an AI art piece. It was like one of the first art pieces, and it went around the world. Back then it was just like a mush. I would argue that like that algorithm was a piece of art. However, I wouldn't extrapolate that statement to all of the images that that algorithm now spits out for prompts. Like that's different. But just the fact of like making that piece of code, I think it has such like a huge cultural impact that how could it not be art? But images are images, like pictures are not art. It's like pictures don't have any inherent value. It's about the message and the meaning and the cultural impact. So, and human artists can make just pictures as well that are not art. And that has nothing to do with skill either. This is the one day that I can like 100% know for sure that nobody's watching this live stream from Finland, because everybody's doing something that normal people with like holiday plans do. I don't know what that is. Hey, Tomata, Nata, chill out music. I don't know if I've ever had people watching these live streams from Finland to begin with. I don't think my art is very Finnish. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. But when it comes to AI-generated art, I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything. Like, I just want to say that this is not some sort of a stance that anybody needs to take or make. But personally, when I see artists or like these art feature pages post these AI-generated images, or especially videos that have these like changing AI forms in them, I have just started to unfollow those. And the only reason is because like they all look the same to me. And the reason why I use Instagram in the first place is to kind of like see different types of like ways to express and create things. And for that reason, like they don't hold that type of value for me. So I started unfollowing those. It's not that I don't like them or have some sort of like aggressive reaction when I see AI art on my feed on Instagram. It's just that like it doesn't make me feel anything, and therefore it just doesn't have like value for me. Also, on some level, I kind of understand that there is this like feeling of betrayal, that you kind of invest your emotions in trying to understand something, and then when you learn that a human didn't make it and didn't mean anything by it, then you kind of feel that at least like I need to speak on my behalf. I shouldn't speak on behalf of everybody else. at least like I feel like I wasted effort in trying to understand and read the art piece when it wasn't done by a human at all. For me, art has this important place in like making things that feel difficult or hard to understand be explained to me by somebody else who is like trying to kind of unlock the complexities of life to me. Not just like visual art, but all literature, music. They can put into words or put clothes on emotions or feelings that I have that are, or concepts that are too difficult for me to handle or understand on my own. And for that I need art and somebody to put it into a context and into words or sounds that make it seem understandable, because life is endlessly chaotic. That's the purpose of art that is made by others to me. And it's also the purpose of art that is made by me, for me. When it comes to this pride and this whole rainbow theme, I think talking about these issues and the current state of like the fight of human rights, how just like how bad it is for some people, it's really difficult for me to talk about. But when I'm doing this painting and like just like understanding the situation through this darkness and hope of light, like that to me is a language that I can understand, and I can process these emotions much better through art. Sometimes it's difficult to advocate for not just my own human rights, but especially like other people that have much harder time in this battle. Like especially trans people have been under attack, and it feels difficult to say anything or do something that would make a difference when you sometimes feel this like just daunting sense of hopelessness. But I think even in those times, art, at least for me in this case, can find the right tone and put the emotions in a context where they are easier to process because you can see them. Just like being aware of your own emotions already, I think, makes you much more capable of empathy, because you know where you are coming from and you are trying to meet people at their level. I'm feeling like I'm so zoomed in that I really should probably not do this. I mean, for these live streams, I usually don't go into like rendering details like that. But honestly, like stuff is kind of coming together already. It's kind of hard for me to find areas in this painting that wouldn't be just like details. So Um, hmm. Hello, Samantha. Yeah, what's space potad you are talking about? Like that is just like art theft, of course. I don't support any of that, obviously. What is your canvas size? Good question. It's 5900 by 4000 pixels. Since I'm already in details, I could maybe bump this up to 4500 to make sure that the details are nice and crispy. This brush has this sort of like really fine texture to it as well, and you can only see it like very close up. That's the sort of stuff that nobody really needs to pay any attention to. I've just noticed that like when I have prints of my own art, that stuff, I really like the way that that looks. Not that Tomata chill out music is saying, Mikko, I dream of learning to draw. There are so many pictures in my head, but technically I can't draw them. Please advise me where to start, how to learn. There's a really, really good video on Start Here, how to start to learn digital drawing. It has a turquoise background and a pink flower in it in the thumbnail. If somebody knows the name of that video, I could say that in the chat. That would be super helpful. But that is always where I start my art courses. That's really important. The next thing is to understand how light works. And then just find a method on how to start drawing, and start always drawing from single objects. Never ever start drawing like this. When I made my art course, I focused on a single subject in that art course for the reason because it was much easier to talk about the different ways of for example, color theory, shape language, and composition, all of these elements. And when I have had just a single subject, the sky, then it was much easier to show how those affect the art process in practice, because like then all of those elements are applicable to whatever you're painting. I think a lot of people, when they start their creative art journey, they kind of run into a wall when they try too much too quickly. And it's just like any other skill, that you really want to break down the skills into individual, like small parts. And that's basically art teaching. For example, anybody who is like a member of the Angry Mob, they can say that pretty much all of the art assignments that we do focus on like one single thing. Like none of the art assignments are like use all of these skills to make all of the objects in the world, but they are usually, art assignments are based on limitations. For example, do this without using that technique, or using these shapes, or these shades of gray, or whatever. Like always, framing an art lesson is always easy to do from a point where you are limiting some sort of a tool that can be used to distract from the kind of like the main point what you are trying to learn or teach. Strange child, never apologize for taking care of your puppy. Puppies need all the love and care in the world. My fox is currently having one of her naps, but there will be one more walk that we will do after this live stream to see the beautiful midsummer evening out there. It is super bright and light. Wow, I was supposed to light them up, but now I lit all of them up at the same time. Like, this is a great example of me just like completely shutting off my brain when I'm painting, and it's not good. Oh, I really messed up there. So I'm doing this layer at a low opacity to kind of minimize the harm that I just did. I think one of the most effective ways to build mood, but the hardest thing to master, is restraint. How to not to go overboard with saturation in every area, and how to preserve like that extra tool for moments when you really need it. I think that's one of the hardest skills. especially like even when it comes to technical stuff like editing room, like just explaining and making a student understand the concept of editing room is like dependent on repetition. And I'm not talking about any specific student. This is just like years of teaching concept art has proven me that restraint in trying to find the colors and leaving editing room and having restraint to direct the eye into the focal point, it's one of the hardest things to, as a teacher, to communicate in a clear way that the students understand it, and then as a student to actually implement it into their own artwork. I think that's really difficult. I'm gonna fix the eye. Even this pride could work. It's just about the balance with the other elements, because I still need the silhouette to work within these bounds as well. Okay. Hello, Pro. Hope you didn't come too late, because I think I might be done. Do you think I'm done? I think I'm pretty done. we can use the remaining value range for those sort of like rainbow effects wherever that is possible. Oh, Sammy said that it's called digital art for beginners. Yes, that art exercise is like something that I really recommend to everybody who is learning art. One of the reasons why I teach that also in like all the art courses as well is because in my art education, like this sort of like division between like seeing things in lines and volumes, it wasn't taught to me. It was something that I had to find out on my own. And because I'm a volumes guy and everything is taught in art usually through lines and drawing first, that it was like really frustrating because it just felt so long that I'm just really bad at this. It's just that I wasn't guided to the way that I see things, to study them in that way as well. But as soon as I kind of found out about that, everything else started to kind of come together. And when I realized that I don't have to make art the same way that everybody else is making it, just literally going for whatever is like the easiest way in whatever situation, that really started to change things for me. I know that pink stripe isn't really part of the pride flag anymore, but that's the way that it was originally designed. So whenever I'm doing these Pride Month paintings, I always wanna include a little bit of pink as well, just to kind of respect the original design. Again, I'm just like trying to fake perspective in organic elements by using this scaling trick. It works surprisingly well, often enough. Okay, I think we have a painting. Yes, I'm getting a little bit historical. I'm gonna read some of the questions before we end the stream, but I'm just gonna leave this into full screen for now. Oh, Sammy says, it looks stunning, Mikko. Just needs a name now. Yes. Any suggestions are welcome. What types of drawing do you master? Does anybody like master any types of drawings? No, all artists are students. Or will it remain a rainbow forest? Because that's a great name. Yes, like maybe something that like hints to that. At least you know the story, having been on this stream. Thank you, Samantha. And thank you everybody who joined the stream. I know that the ends of my live streams are always a mess because it takes me way too long to actually end the stream. But I just wanted to thank everybody for being here and letting me paint. You made my midsummer like really special. I mean, like, I'm allowed to get excited about my painting. I really like this. I think it's great. I'm super excited about this. It's better than I imagined when I started. Like, it's better than I imagined. Vivi is doing the elegant splot move on the floor. I'm gonna go and pick up my floor mitten and take her out on a walk. Poor thing. She looks exhausted. And I'm like just like super happy. Like, that's why I'm smiling. Like, now I realized what I have done. My God, what have I done? I have made some art. Okay, I really need to stop this stream. Okay, thank you. Bye.